So, Lindsay, yeah, thanks for taking the time, to speak with us, and just would love to introduce our listeners to you, both personally and professionally. Have been in the field of physical therapy for a long time. You've got your doctorate degree, so thank you, Dr. Lindsay McGraw, for
Yeah.
coming on the show. And yeah, can you basically just give us an overview of what was your life like? How did you decide to pursue your studies and your career? And then we'll transition to both your professional work and how you got into the situation of being a family caregiver. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again so much for having me. So yeah, I am a doctor of physical therapy, and reasons that I kind of ended up going into this field, to fast forward through some of them. I know we've talked off mic about it, but I was pre-med in undergraduate, and very quickly felt extremely overwhelmed by the process of applying and going to med school, and also really unsure about what my options were as an MD. I went to a really big university, and I just had this gut feeling that I was no way I was going to actually see patients and work with patients, and I didn't like that. So similarly, or at the same time, I was also starting work in athletic training, working with the NCAA athletes at my school, and really fell in love with that, mostly because it was very didactic, and that's where I learned that I am, a very kinesthetic learner. I like using my body to, feel how things are done. And so I really kind of fell more in love with this idea of like, I want to be working with patients, I want to be helping people, but I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to go to school and then have to work in a lab, and then, teach classes and fail people in order to get money to do more research. And so I kind of found this sweet spot of physical therapy where I would have the ability to see patients, work one on one with them. And also, what I retrospectively realized was a really big gift that I didn't appreciate at the time was to be able to work with people ongoing and actually get to know them. And I think that's one of the best. I think that's one of the best parts of medicine for me practicing, is really getting to be with people on that journey. So yeah, that's a little bit kind of what led me into physical therapy.
Great. And then I guess more recently, you congratulations, you are now running your own company. And can you tell us a little bit about Marca Health and how you decided to go along that journey? What types of people are you helping through your company? And just kind of give the listeners an overview.
Yes, Neil, you love to pick on the places of my life where I really had, angst and uncertainty, and these big crossroads. So this was about 10 years into practicing as a physical therapist. I struggled with burnout as a healthcare provider, really challenging seeing patients nonstop, not really having, the ability to practice what I preach was a really big part of it. And so I kind of ended up hitting the wall, hitting the floor, and quitting almost cold turkey. Luckily, I had been working for a long time, and I had a really supportive partner uh, throughout this period of time. But I decided to go out on my own, and I had been working in downtown San Francisco, where there were a lot of technology companies, finance companies, and a lot of the clients that I was treating worked nearby. And so I really decided to just give it a go, since I had nothing else I wanted to do. I wasn't sure if I even wanted to stay in medicine at that point, of trying to bring healthcare more direct to people and to shift away from an insurance based model and towards a prevention and a cash pay model. And so, so much of what I had been doing was treating these injuries that really seemed like they were preventable. A lot of overuse, a lot of, chronic posture, chronic movements. And I had a really great supportive client base that believed in me and were willing and interested in actually bringing me into their office. So Marca Health is the company that I own and run now. I guess it's been, 5, 6 years. And we go directly to employers and work with employers to create policies, programming, and resources for their employees on how to stay pain-free and productive. So this includes doing ergonomics, this includes doing workshops. We do on-site physical therapy clinics at some of our clients' office. We're a boutique firm. I really believe that the company knows what their employee needs, and they are so much more willing now to take that on. And so we work directly with the companies to create plans for how to keep their employees healthy and happy.
Wow, that's great. That's really great to hear, and congratulations on that journey. And it's also inspiring to see that employers and companies are starting to kind of think forward, towards kind of population health of, their employee base. That's been a recurring topic and a theme that we've been talking about, is that employees have other needs, physical, personal, caregiving oriented, et cetera. And it's nice to see that forward-thinking employers are stepping up to the plate. I think
Absolutely.
transitioning that even into your own personal life, how did you, in recent years, you have now become in the role of a family caregiver, I guess in a variety of ways. You'd maybe categorize yourself as the classic quote unquote sandwich generation caregiver. Can you talk to us about kind of how did you end up as a family caregiver? What has the journey been like over the years? And then kind of my follow-up question on that is what does that mean in terms of day-to-day life for the listeners
Yeah.
that are listening who may or may not be in that situation?
Definitely. Definitely. So yes, I and my husband have found ourselves as part of the sandwich generation, and it's one of the reasons we're really grateful to have Care Yaga as a resource for us. We did not intend to, and kind of accidentally, like many people, found ourselves in this position. We mostly, I think, because of COVID, really found that my mother-in-law, my husband's mom, you know, really rapidly declined into a state where it was not safe for her to be living by herself, and needed extra support. And so we moved her in with us in the beginning of 2022. So it's been just over a year now that she has been living with us. And we additionally have two small children at home. So we're full help in the house. And yeah, I really, I think as much as you might think, oh, I know this is going to happen, or yes, of course, I'll take care of my aging parents, really had no actual like mentality or preparedness to do so. And I find it particularly, I don't know, interesting, challenging, because I went into a caregiving profession and I consider myself a caregiver, but the act of day to day caregiving for both little people and older people is really a big challenge. And so, you know, it requires a lot for my husband and I, and has been a really big strain on our relationship with our other family members, as we try to figure out what the heck is going on and what we're doing, because we weren't really prepared for this. And, kind of candidly, we don't have space in our life to do this either, but it's something that, we want to do. It's something that we believe in doing. And, I know we've had conversations, Neil, so much about the system and how it's really not well thought out or prepared, to handle this kind of shift that we're seeing. So, yeah, that's kind of how we fell into it. And our day to day, we're very lucky. We do have some wonderful Kiryaya joy givers that come in, and they're here probably 3 or 4 days a week to help support us with my mother-in-law, Carolyn, while my husband and I work from home. So we, are in a very lucky position where with COVID, we're mostly remote at this point in time. And so we're able to be home, which is honestly wonderful to be able to actually be around. We can make sure she's taking her medicine. We can be on call, but she had some health challenges at the end of last year, and so she's been recommended to have 24/7 supervision. And so having the peace of mind of having, a joy giver there to, chat with her, keep an eye on her, ensure her safety, helps put us at ease, so we can be, in another part of the house, or, shuttling our kids to their different activities, and not quite needing to, be so physically in place all the time.
Yeah. No, that's really helpful to hear. And I guess as a follow-up to that, are there things that you've learned during this journey of the past couple of years that if someone out there is listening that might be just on the beginning of that kind of family caregiving or sandwich generation journey, you would say that you've learned, lessons you would share, resources, that you would encourage other people to kind of like look into just for education and basically being able to handle this type of transition?
That is an excellent question. One I haven't really even thought about, like kind of how far we've come in our journey of becoming accidental experts in this field, right? Uh, I think I think it's really important that you like ask a lot of questions. My experience, both from my own medical journey, my professional journey in medicine, and this as well as with kids is, like as much as people do care and there are really amazing clinicians that want to help, like it is a hard system and I guess what I'm trying to say is like, people aren't necessarily volunteering all of the things that are available or offering you all of the support. So in some ways, us leaning into our we don't know what we're doing, what can we get, what's going on, uh, has helped because we are questioning kind of like what the doctors and people tell us, just because we want to know. And I think a lot of people, we really take everything that medical providers say as like this is the hard and fast truth. And while they have a lot of knowledge, I think that, the most powerful thing I know in my medical practice is what I don't know. And I think that, people will tell you what they're able to give you or what they're able to offer, but that you might be shopping at the wrong store, if that makes sense. There might be another place like that knows more about a certain topic. So I think for us, like, I knew to ask for access to a social worker so that we could talk through some of our options. And I think talking to people that are really on the ground doing the caregiving to, the home health agents, the aides, or if you're in skilled nursing, I think that a lot of the people that are, that see it day in and day out, they know a lot. They might not be able to do a lot, but they really are kind of like underserved or under talked with people to hear more about. But it's a great question. I think, I don't know, trusting yourself too. Like people will tell you what's going on with your loved one, and I think you have to know that too. Like we're even experimenting now. Like yes, she should have 24/7 supervision, but like you know sometimes she needs some downtime and kind of like listening to your intuition too. But it's really, I don't know, it's really hard, and I'm in a unique position where the loved one I'm caring for is not a blood relative, and so I maybe have a little more perspective. I'm not coping with, I think, a lot of what people are coping with who are taking care of their direct parent or something. And so I mean, you want to start to really talk about, the messed up medical system. Let's get everyone in therapy, and make that accessible. I think if you don't have access to that, I really hope there is something that's available to caregivers to get therapy or some type of, support. And I would say like Instagram, I know that sounds dumb, but like there are a lot of caregiver advocates that have social media accounts and provide a lot of information. I sometimes look at them. I sometimes find them a little too triggering. Like I don't want to spend my whole day, frankly, like, listening to the videos that are talking about how, we should take care of ourselves or tips and tricks. But I think there's a lot of stuff coming out, and I think there's only going to be more as this happens to more and more people. So I think talking about it and seeing it be more present is hopefully the best thing we can do, kind of in the long run right now.
Oh, that's actually really interesting and informative, especially about the Instagram thing. I wasn't aware of that, and that I think a lot of listeners might find it
I go back
a
and
good
forth on how
resource.
much I like it. Like it's not exactly
Yeah,
how I don't want to escape. Like I go to
yeah,
Instagram to escape. I don't always want to be looking at it, but also you're
yeah,
like, this actually has some helpful tips. So, yeah,
yeah.
get on social media,
And then I
Neil.
think that, yeah, I will. I will. That's part of the plan. And then I guess on the systemic, issue, I guess,
Yeah.
you may even have other friends, professional colleagues, et cetera, that might be going through similar things, as well as just kind of people you've seen even patients who might be helping. And I'm curious, like, has your own lived experience kind of highlighted any issues with like the systemic issues, that you see of like what are other people going through? I think one thing you alluded to is like the mental health of family caregivers, and that needing to be something, the system thinks about, affordability, access, kind of just, are there any systemic issues that you've seen that are sometimes just more front and center because you're going through it yourself?
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's a great thing to bring up. I think that everyone's situation is so varied and so unique. I think that there really is a problem with, it's coming. I think of how do we care for this elder population, the boomers that are getting older, and gosh, I mean, I don't want to get political anyway. I remember my dad made a comment years ago, and I think that they struggled when they were young too about, oh, we pay into Social Security, and is it even going to be there for us when we get to this age? And it's really challenging and really frustrating because for all of the support and all of the things that are available, and again, I'm coming from a place of like, you know everyone is dealing with their own situation, and probably is getting shortchanged in a lot of ways. But as someone that's dealing with a loved one that has has Alzheimer's, has a chronic mental decline, uh, we're really stuck in this kind of like valley of nothingness. Once there was a diagnosis, it's like okay, and it really hangs over every other type of medical treatment. She's not able to she's discharged from a lot of services because of a inability to improve, because she's at a declining status, right? So prognosis wise, she's not getting better. So she's not eligible because she won't get better. So they won't pay for things because they're not going to get better. But also, the only other alternative is for things to get worse. And then the system will pay for things. And so it's really kind of confusing and frustrating because you're already dealing with your own kind of mental messed upness of like, this person that I love, like the only way is through in a very, weird process way. And yet there's not a lot of support in terms of like resources or treatments. And as individuals that are lucky enough to have some additional income to kind of bridge that, it's still the cost of care. And I think about if we weren't able to keep her at home, if we had to put her in a home, my husband and I go back and forth on like, even if we thought that was maybe best for our marriage or for her getting consistent care, like that financially will ruin us as people that have to take that on for our parent. So I think there's a huge value. I think we could have a whole nother conversation probably, spending the whole time on kind of ways that the medical system really is failing people right now. And I know that you and I have been able to connect over trying to create something out of that or do things in a different way. But I think it's really frustrating because you kind of feel like you're stuck a lot. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thanks for sharing. And I think, yeah, many families are now increasingly finding themselves in this situation. So hopefully, at a minimum, we can kind of share our stories and build awareness. And then hopefully, at a greater level, advocate for change and a better system.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing your stories. I guess if you could have, this is just kind of a random question, but if you could have, a giant billboard anywhere with anything on it, kind of metaphorically speaking, getting, a message out that's important to you to millions or billions of people, what would you say and why? It could be a few words or a whole paragraph.
This is like one of those really frustrating questions that, you're like, ugh, I have to ace it. I think for my journey and for how I'm doing with my own life, caregiving aside, I think my billboard would probably say like, you are doing enough. I think that I maybe don't even have to say more. Like, you're doing enough.
Yeah.
Like, I am a parent. I'm a business owner. I'm, helping caregiving. Like, there's a lot of crap that I feel like I should be doing at all times. And it's really challenging to stop and enjoy my life sometimes because it feels like there's always something I should be doing or should be pushing forward. And so, um, I think that you can just kind of get racked by that sense of guilt or that sense of not enoughness. And I'm trying to shift my mentality with that as I go through this whole process. And I think that um, just even thinking about just caregiving and just having a loved one, you want to fix it, you want to make it go away, you want to do more for that person, and yet at the same time, like, you can't lose yourself. I think we could have a whole additional conversation on, sometimes feelings of anger and resentment, which, like, I don't want to talk about because I don't want to sound like that angry person, but like, God, there's a lot of anger, that why is this happening to us right now? you know, this is taking away from my ability to enjoy my kids, or, anger about, just how things feel unfair. And I don't know. I think that, like, it just always feeling like there's more you got to do or more we have to step up to. And I think it's like, okay, doing enough. Like, we did something, like we called that one doctor and scheduled that one appointment, but no, we don't have everything figured out, I think. So that's my billboard.
Oh, thank you. Actually, thank you for your refreshing honesty. I think that you've shared, and I've been a family caregiver a
Yeah.
couple of times in my life, and I think that it's not talked about, so I really appreciate you being,
No, because we're like supposed to
refreshingly
we're
honest
supposed to
about this.
enjoy it and like enjoy this time with our
Yeah,
loved one, and like, and
yeah,
while there are really beautiful moments, it's like it's also not glamorous most of the time, and
yeah.
it's not wonderful. And again, like, yeah, it can be really really frustrating. And yeah, so
I think it's really nice that you shared that, because I think that can normalize how people might be feeling on the inside, and then if they're just seeing this kind of kumbaya stuff on the outside, they might
which is
feel
why
like
I
this is
don't go
almost
on so
being
much social media
manipulated.
about it. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sick. I
yeah.
can't handle
So
the kumbaya part of it all the
yeah,
time.
thank you for sharing the honesty. That'll actually help a lot of people not feel bad about what they're going through. So really appreciate that. And then I guess, in closing, I guess, I'm curious. Like, I think that both of us are trying to build a better future for care.
Yeah.
I think in an ideal world, if you could just kind of snap your fingers and, fulfill a dream of equitable access to care and help for people that need it, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, I know we're both starting in our own little ways. Like, I think that I don't know. I think that there's so much to do, and like nowhere to nowhere to start with it. I think that I think focusing on prevention is huge, and I think the challenge, with the traditional insurance model is that it just doesn't make sense, even though there's a financial long-term aspect of, investing a small amount to save tons in healthcare costs in the long run. Someone whose profit margins are dependent on, taking gambles on the chances of someone having a certain illness isn't going to probably play that game. And I think that's one reason that I've, shied away from insurance, and I'm not trying to vilify them too much. I don't even know enough about it, like, to accuse insurance companies of anything, just to say that, like, I just don't touch it because it just confuses the heck out of me. And I work in the industry. So I think that probably, like, something's going to shift away from, like, a for-profit insurance model. I know there's been some shifts, universal healthcare, we all just want to move to Finland or whatever country has all that. But I think more towards prevention. I think people taking a lot of responsibility for their health. Hopefully that's something that, will also trend and shift. I know you're asking me what I would change. I think I'm more just trying to see what I envision the shifts being. Um, Again, I'm in my own little echo chamber, but I think people are more aware of their health and, getting in touch with their bodies, and hopefully that will be something that will continue to happen. And so, people can find their own path with that. But yeah, something's gonna break and something's gonna crack, and I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go first, but I would really love to see a world in which, we didn't have to worry about, you know putting my mother-in-law in a state-sponsored nursing home because we can't afford something else, or not have to worry about my marriage because of the challenges of juggling everything. I would really like to see a world where we didn't have to worry about getting older as much, So it's not exactly as positive of a spin as maybe you wanted, but
No, it's real. It's real. It's realistic.
yeah,
So, thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I mean, I think, Lindsay, thank you very much, for taking the time, to appear on the show and inform the
absolutely.
readers,
Thanks for having
inform the
me.
listeners. Yeah, we just heard from Dr. Lindsay McGraw, CEO of Marca Health, as well as a sandwich generation family caregiver, talking in a raw and honest form about, the challenges, the ups and downs of caregiving, and really appreciate it. And also, just kind of kudos to you. I'd say echoing back your billboard, you are doing enough. So you're actually doing a lot. So thank you for even making the time to appear on the show and educate our listeners.
Thanks, Neil. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lindsay.